In this video, we're going to talk about the #1 most important item you need to make sure that you have in your fallout shelter. If you don't have this item in your fallout shelter, then it's going to turn into your grave.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now waiting, better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything.
Hey everybody, this is Praxis, and in this video I'm going to show you how to prep water for long-term storage. The reason that I'm doing this today is I'm here in my fallout shelter and I want to get a bunch of water that's prepped and set in here in case we need to use the fallout shelter for a couple of weeks. We have a plan to have water running into the place. In fact, here's the line coming into the fallout shelter. I'm going to be using this to fill up all of these jugs today, but that relies on our well working, that relies on our solar electric system, on our house working. We're not connected to the grid, but you know, if there was an EMP pulse or something, it could easily knock out any one of those systems. There's a lot of moving parts in there. And if that system goes down, we don't want to be locked in a grave in the ground. So we're prepping a bunch of water that we can have in here. Our secondary plan is that we want to be filling water jugs on the day of. So, you know, if we decide we need to come in here, we've got a go list, and one of the items on the go list towards the end is to take, you know, that water hose and fill up a bunch of these 5-gallon jugs here. Now that would be ideal because that would be the freshest water in there. What we're gonna be doing today is doing it for long-term storage. We're gonna be putting some bleach in with it. But again, you know, if things go down and the day of we're not able to run any water, we wanna at least have some stuff in here. So it's not ideal drinking water with bleach in it, but if you live in quite a bit of the rest of the world, at least in the industrial cities and things like that, you're already drinking water with bleach in it. So it's not really that big of a difference. But for us, we drink you know, clean, pristine water right up out of the well, and we're not used to having chlorine bleach in it. So you know, this is a fallback position, but I want to share it with you because there's kind of a technique for how to do this. Now, if you do research about how to sterilize water before you put it into jugs, there are a lot of different opinions floating around online. Kind of the basic rule of thumb is that you want to be using a bleach that is sodium hypochlorite based. Let me check that. Where's my bleach? There's a couple different kinds of bleach here. I've got the right one here. It is sodium hypochlorite based. I'm gonna put that up on the screen so you can read that. Most bleaches are somewhere between 4 and 6%. This one here is a 6% bleach. And you wanna be using 1/4 of a teaspoon per gallon of water. I've also read you want to use a teaspoon per 5 gallon of water, which would be more like 1/5 of a teaspoon per gallon. So you find different opinions in different places. What I'm going with today is I am going with probably like 1/3 of a teaspoon per gallon of water. And the reason for that is that this bleach is a little bit on the old side. I bought this back in 2020. At the time of this recording is 2022. So it lost a little bit of its oomph. And you know, because of that, I'm putting a little bit of extra bleach in because some of that chlorine has off-gassed out of the container, and I want to make sure that I have enough in here. Now, you can certainly go overkill with your bleach, but one thing that we're planning on doing is we're going to run all of our drinking water, if we were going to be using this stuff, we're going to run it through a carbon filter anyway, like a charcoal filter, so that you would, you know, remove excess bleach anyway. Plus, you get rid of the taste, which none of us like. So that's the rule of thumb: 1 gallon of water, 1/4 teaspoon of bleach solution, which again, the kinds that you are going to commercially buy are usually somewhere around 5%, and it has to be sodium hypochlorite based. That's all there is to it. You can stop the video now if you remembered all that, but if you want to see me do some of this stuff and you know, that might be enjoyable to you, please feel free to stick around. It's going to be a little while because these are 5-gallon buckets. Now, the water line that we brought in here is a water line from the house. I'm going to speak up a little bit because now we're starting to fill one of them up. It's a water line from the house. Now we have 40, I think it's actually 50 PSI water in the house. That's pounds per square inch. So it's a lot of pressure in the house. As I was running it out here, I ran it through special types of garden hose type things that you would use if you're into RVing. You know, if you go around to different camping, trailer parks, you're going to want to hook up to their water there, and they have special hoses that are made for having drinking water go through. I don't know what the technical difference is between them, maybe, you know, made out of better materials or whatever. I know when I was a little kid and I used to drink out of just whatever kind of garden hose, it was like the best tasting water that I remember. Maybe because when I was a kid it was in the summertime and I was just really thirsty. You know, water always tastes better when you're super thirsty. If you're going to do something like this, you want to have a hose that's rated for drinking water so that, you know, it's not imparting extra things into your system. So I'm filling this up here. Now, when I ran the water into the shelter here, I mentioned that it's 50 psi in the house. I bought a device to bring down that pressure for this area, and I'm going to put a link down in the description below if you're interested in something like that. The reason that I got that is because, you know, why put the extra pressure in all of the plumbing fittings that I have out here? It's just kind of camping trailer hoses and things, and I didn't see any reason to be putting 50 psi through those hoses when 20 psi I think would be totally fine. So I've got 20 psi running in here. I could have dialed it down even lower than that. And you know, it seems like it's doing all right. I started filling up this 5-gallon jug when I started talking about, and I almost overfilled it there. So that's about how long it takes at 20 psi. So I've got the second jug ready to accept the hose so that I got a place to put it. And I'm going to put the lid on here, but first we want to put the bleach in. That's the whole point of us being here. Now, I took the bleach out of the gallon jug because it was difficult. It was difficult to put the little measuring spoon in there, and also you know, pouring the bleach, I kept spilling it. So I put it in this little thing, and this is a half tablespoon. So I'm putting 1/2 tablespoon in. Oh, you know, before I do that, I almost overfilled this jug. I'm just going to give it a little tip, and that's going to allow the air to settle differently. These larger jugs don't fill up to the top surface. Now, if you were doing this in some kind of a, yeah, I'll get back to that moment. I'm going to talk about measurement now. 1/2 tablespoon. So that is 1.5 teaspoons. I'm sorry, we were using these weird American measurements here. 1.5 teaspoons is what I just put in, and I'm putting just a little bit extra. I guess I'm putting in like maybe half of a half tablespoon, so 1/4 of a tablespoon. I'm not sure what that breaks down to fractionally. So that's what I'm putting in there. And then I just seal the thing up. Okay, back to what I was talking about. If you're gonna fill this up and you have like, maybe just have like, you know, gallon jugs of water or something like that, if you're gonna be filling them up, what you want to make sure that you do is fill them up as much as you can and try to get all the air out. In these 5-gallon jugs, it's really hard to get all the air out. So I'm just gonna suck it up and be like, okay, you know, maybe this water is going to have a little bit of issues because of all that air contact, but that's the rule of thumb, is you want to try to make it so there's, you know, no extra air in there. So if you're filling this up from just a municipal water supply and there's chlorine already in it, you can just do it outside, you know, fill the gallon jug right up to the top and then put the lid on while it's like dripping all down the sides. Try to make sure that you get no airspace in there. That is what I've read a lot. I'm putting chlorine bleach in these because I'm doing this off of a well. But if you are from a municipal water supply, you've already got the chlorine in there. And, you know, according to you know, what I've researched about you know, the idea that you don't have to treat it after the fact, that would suggest to me that for every gallon of municipal water that you're drinking, there is at least 1/4 teaspoon of bleach in that. So that is one of the reasons that I like being off of municipal water supplies. I love you know, just getting it right out of a well, because for every gallon of water that I drink, I'm not drinking bleach as well. So we just filled this up, and I'm gonna set this off to the side. Where I got these, incidentally, is at a local grocery co-op. I got a bunch of these. They are from, they had soap in them, so they were nice and clean. It's just a biodegradable soap that they had in 5-gallon bins that they had in the bulk department, and they would just give these things away for free, and that's where I acquired all those. So I'm going to just keep going through this. My plan is that I want to have 25 gallons of water per person in this space for the 2 weeks that we're here. You know, some rules of thumb say that you want to have like 1 gallon per person per day. You know, other things will say, well, you should double that to 2 gallons per person per day. So if it was 1 gallon per person per day. If you're in a shelter for 2 weeks, that's 14 gallons. If you double that, it's like about 30 gallons. I'm going for 25 just because it's kind of easy, it's easy math because I've got 5-gallon jugs here, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just do five jugs per person. That's 25 gallons. And again, this is our backup, our secondary backup plan. Primary plan here is to just get the water right out of the system, absolutely fresh. Backup plan from that is that we are going to be filling up jugs on the day of. So we got fresh water, that's starting like day 0 right there. That is our first backup plan. And then this is our second backup plan where we would actually be using this stuff. So hopefully we never actually have to use this stuff. If you have it sitting for, more than 2 years, you're probably going to want to cycle through it. Given the way that I have a lot of air space at the top of these, I would probably, cycle through it on a yearly basis. And that's about all you need to know. So 1/4 teaspoon, I'm sorry, forget what I said. Yeah, no, that's correct. 1/4 teaspoon of bleach solution per gallon of water, if it is not already treated from a municipal site and doesn't already have chlorine in it. And the type of bleach that you want is something that is sodium hypochlorite based, getting it from like just any kind of a standard bleach bottle, and they're accounting for the idea that these are going to be somewhere between 4 and 6%, somewhere around 5%. This one is about 6%. And that's what you need to do. I would highly recommend you get some water set back, because water is really one of the most critical survival items. If you are without water for just a matter of a couple of days, not only is it really dangerous for you, but it's really uncomfortable. You can think of nothing else but the fact that your mouth is so dry. Water is super important, and even if it's not the best tasting water, even if it's not the best quality water, at least having some water is better than none at all. That's it. Hopefully none of us have to use any of these preps, that we don't have to use these jugs of water. I don't even have to use this as a fallout shelter. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the way things go, but we all know that things don't always go the way that we wish, so it's always better to have more preps than you need than too few. That's it. Thanks for watching.
This episode has been brought to you in part by Prescott Caliber Club and Jeske Defense Strategies. Prescott Caliber Club is a federally licensed firearm manufacturer and retail store specializing in firearms, survival gear, and producing great online content. If you want to thank them for supporting this channel, go check them out at PrescottCalClub.com. Please subscribe and tune in every week for new videos. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can do so through Patreon or PayPal.